This podcast is brought to you by Dental and Vision. When employees see the value, they buy value. That's why positioning Aflac's dental and vision plans isn't just smart, it's strategic. Start with what they need, better smiles, clearer vision, and finish with what they deserve, full protection with Aflac. Welcome back to LA Legends, where Aflac pros sharpen their skills, swap stories, and build the LA South market one legend at a time. I am Michael Fisher.
And I'm Michelle Lee. Today's episode is about long term thinking, the kind that outlasts markets, careers, and even titles. We're talking about the employer defined contribution, veteran focused business planning, and actually how to build real persistency for retirement.
Yes, and we have Mr. Kevin Lorenzen, and he is a veteran leader out of Colorado, North New Mexico, but with over 20 years experience. What I find very exciting, though, is he is on the VAC Council, which is Veteran Associate Council. Is that correct? Is that acronym, Kevin?
It's Veteran Advisory Council.
Advisory. I see Aflac acronyms. But he actually helps this entire company with just design and actually getting things down to the field level. But we have talked to Kevin before. We get tips and tricks on things from defined contribution, how to build your Aflac business, and then just like how to sell more and how to focus in on a quarter. So I am excited. Kevin, welcome to LA Legends.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see both of you.
Good to see you.
So, Kevin, I want to actually start off with defined contribution. One good thing is that being, a market trainer along with your market trainer, Morgan Gallagher, is that she speaks so highly of you and talks about your experience and even 20 years in the business, being able to still drive a lot of the newer things coming out of headquarters. And I know defined contribution is not a new concept, we've done in the past, but you're actually a big component. If you guys don't catch this episode, you can definitely catch Kevin talking about it on Aflac On Demand as well. So let's actually level set. How do you explain employer contribution in plain, simple language? Let's start with the basics.
So which audience? Are we talking for training agents or are we talking for the decision maker presentation?
Let's talk about the decision maker conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. And I love doing it because oftentimes employers want to help their employees and they don't know how. And anybody who's been around since the Affordable Care Act came out, quite frankly, there was nothing affordable about the Affordable Care Act. And a lot of the companies, especially here in New Mexico, they simply are not big enough and they can't afford to provide a contribution for health insurance. So I try to use that as a starting point to talk about employer contributions, find out if they're making any at all at this point, and if they're not because they say they simply can't afford it. I try to find out from them if there's an affordable dollar amount, right? Are you willing to buy a Starbucks for each one of your employees once a week, right? It's $6, $7. That is an accident plan. So I try to put it into some terms that they can understand that's not going to break the bank, right? I'm not looking to get $3, $4, $5, $600 like they would probably have to ante up if they were going to do health insurance. I'm literally just looking for them to pay for a vision plan or a dental plan or an accident plan. And quite frankly, I don't care what level accident plan it is. The whole idea is to gain access to every single employee. So employers know already about making some type of employer contribution. A lot of them that don't offer health insurance may still do vision and dental. We may be out of that equation, but we're very, very competitive. I've found that we've really been able to go in and compete with the Deltas, to compete with Principal. I mean, literally any other carrier, we can go in there and we can be pretty competitive. So I start out with that, try to find out what their budget is, and they're generally very, very open to it. Again, I'm not asking for $100. I'm not asking for 500 a month. I'm literally asking them to pay for a grande caramel macchiato once a week for every one of their employees. And maybe it's a Guinness. I don't know. Maybe some people would rather have a Guinness as we talk about Dublin next week, right? So
Can't wait.
that's all I want to do. Even if they say I can only afford a level 1 accident plan, $3, $4 a week, that's okay because that's going to give me access to every single employee. And every single employee is different, right? Some are married, some are single, some are young, some are old, some have good health, some maybe not so good.
Right.
So when I go in there, as long as I get access to that employee because the employer cared enough to buy an accident plan, a vision plan, a dental plan, or give them 5, $10 contribution, that's all I care about, right? And I borrowed this expression from somebody else about I just want every derriere in the chair. As long as I get to talk to people, that's all I care about. I don't wanna break the bank for the business owner. I want the business owner to see the value in it, and if I can get people to sit down in front of me, then I'm gonna do what I do best. I'm gonna ask, "Michelle, are you married? Are you single? Do you have kids? Really? How old are your kids? Are they in sports? What, they're racing cars? Well, have I got the plans for you?" All we do is get access, and then we become the consultant with each one of the employees.
Hmm.
And, I'm not going in there to oversell people either, right? I mean, that's not the objective. I wouldn't be here 20 years if that's what I was doing. But I work really hard to make sure we right size the coverage. And maybe somebody will say, yeah, I want that level one accident plan. But gosh, I need a cancer plan. Everybody in the family gets cancer. And then again, we just do what we do best, explain the cancer plan, how critical it is, how much value it gains over the years. And we've done a great job for the enrollment. It's really kinda
So
how I look at it.
Kevin, you said so many things right now that I think are, and I actually think that sometimes it would shock some of the people at Aflac. Everything that you just said coming from a 20-year veteran here. So, one of the ones that I think a lot of people forget, and this is just companies that have less than 50 employees or 30, and you just said it perfectly. Most of them aren't even thinking about health insurance. They're not in the health insurance game.
Mm-mm.
Something that we actually are a lot of times when we're training new associates, we're like, oh yeah, if they have health insurance, then we're going to pay the employees cash, and like honestly, they aren't offering health insurance. So
Mm.
it's not even like it's not even close to something that's on their whiteboard. I think exactly what you said, which is number one, making that employer not feel bad about themselves, and being like, hey, that Affordable Care Act thing did not turn out to be so affordable for small business owners. In fact,
Mm.
like we're going to help you get in the benefits game here. And by the way, we're talking about a Starbucks per employee. We're not talking about, the $500 per employee per month that you're never going to be able to do. So I think that's one that I just wanted to underline that because it's so important. And especially just where we are best, it's in those spaces. Second one was just you aren't passionate about the level or the product. That's the one that I just love because I've never. I mean, I've seen veteran associates getting fistfights with each other, talking about levels, and if you guys are passionate about your levels a lot of times and passionate. So I love to hear that just because you're like, hey, that's not the main point. You're actually worried about even if it's level one, you're getting access at that
Mhm.
point. And that means that a lot more people are going to be protected. Maybe they're not going to get the exact rider that, is your perfect rider in every scenario, but more people are going to be covered for something. And then,
Right.
of course, you have the opportunity when you're in front of them. The sky's the limit, man. So I thought both of those were huge takeaways, and we can stop the podcast now. That's great.
Well, hey, that's great. Yeah, but you know what? It really does work well because that's the other thing too. You go in there without a greedy attitude, right? You would say, "Hey, your business owner said you can get a level one accident. You got $4 a week to go ahead and use however you choose, right?" And if that person has had a car accident, if that person crashed a quad, if that person had a family member die in an accident, and you show them the difference between a one and a two or three, I mean, it depends on how many options you have in your state. You just show them the difference and let that person make the decision, right? I'm not making the decision for him or her. I'm just offering the coverage, and then they can look at it and they can choose what's going to be the best for them. Maybe they get the level one accident plan, but they get the big cancer plan. Maybe they look at it and go, I have to have a short term disability policy. And quite frankly, most people do, right? Not many people are independently wealthy because if they were, why the heck would they be working for their company? So most of them are going to look at disability, especially young women, and it's just a no-brainer. So it's really, we go in there not being greedy. We just want to go in and have a conversation with people and find out if they have a need. If they have the need and we can fill that need, then we're golden. If they don't want it, that's okay too. I'm not going to be upset.
Well, I
Amen.
have
Amen.
quite a few takeaways from that as well. One of the biggest things is making it relatable language so they can actually connect with affordability. So,
Mhm.
of a defined contribution, and more than anything, it is access. Our goal is to always get
Correct.
access, and that's why we go in with defined contribution. So, I love that you hit those 2 points.
Mhm.
And in keeping it simple enough is Michael talks about this a lot as well of how much businesses actually spend, and sometimes as a new associate or even a veteran associate, we forget that they spend a lot of money to begin with, whether it's on their employees. So if it's 10 employees, $50 a month is $500. Most of the time, they don't even blink at that because they're spending that on a lunch and one lunch, just to be able to
Yep.
Right.
feed their team. So that concept of keeping it affordable for them and not making it as a bigger deal of cost, and like you said, even talking about levels when it doesn't make sense to do so. So being comfortable to have a conversation and make it layman's terms and relate that cost, I think is fantastic. So
Mhm.
I appreciate you sharing that. I do want to shift into something else. Because Morgan brought up something that you talk about when it comes to veteran business planning. Being a 20-year veteran, or 10-year with Aflac, a diamond member, being part of Veteran Advisory Council, you always have a big number because in Diamond Club, right, $1 million Club, there's a big number you got to achieve to be able to hit your veteran incentive program, your VIP. So, how do you, as you step into the new year? I know we just finished the quarter, but as you stepped into the new year, talk us through what that actually looks like and you're planning to make sure you don't miss, your VIPs as
Okay.
well.
Sure. And I come from an engineering background, so I'm good with numbers, I'm good with spreadsheets, but I literally take advantage of a lot of the tools that Aflac provides to us. So I use the comp report, and I will use last year's comp report. So even before the new year started, I already had most of my comp report from 2025, and I already started my 2026 forecast planning, right? I literally had it ready to go. So Q1, I knew which accounts I had done enrollments in 2025, and I knew the exact dollar amount from each one of those accounts. And so then I'm looking at my planning for 2026 in Q1.
This is just gold that you're talking about the comparison report.
Mhm.
So you go on RPM, go to your comparison report, you hit week 52, 2025, and then hit the go button on the top right.
Mhm.
You wait 59 minutes for it to load up, and then that's where you start, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Exactly.
cool, cool, cool,
And then
cool.
I break it down by quarter. So I literally have each one of the 4 quarters set and ready to go, and it's so incredible, right? Because the way the comp report is set up, right, it's all hyperlinked, and it has every single account, and it shows you how much you wrote for that account in whatever week it was. So, if you're doing your January enrollments, if you're doing your February enrollments, if you're doing your March enrollments, about how much you have to get in order to kind of match what you did last year. And then you look, did I lose an account, right? I mean, I literally just today had to say I lost a law firm because the 2 partners, quite frankly, aged out. They're like, yeah, yeah, we're old. We're shutting down the office. I'm like, no advance notice. I mean, literally, they called me today and say, oh, by the way, today is the last day for our office. We're shutting it down. So that happened. So I now that when I go to do their open enrollment, they're actually a Q2, I'm not going to have that potential business. So I know that I have to now either do it with the other existing account premium, or I have to make sure that I open up a group or two. So there's a lot that goes into the planning, a lot that goes into the strategy, looking at what you wrote that last year each week. And then the other thing that I do is I look at what I need to hit my VIP, and I have my 10-week goal, I have my 11-week goal, I have my 12-week goal, and I have my, I'm just big fat lazy 13-week goal. Because I don't want, and I tell new agents that all the time too.
Smart, smart.
Don't plan for a 13-week VIP. Plan for a 10-week VIP. Because if you don't hit in 10 weeks, well, guess what? You still have 3 weeks of margin left. So maybe you don't hit in 11. Maybe you don't hit it in 12. But if you plan for 13 and you get sick, you get hurt, you have a death in the family, you got to go away, you've got kids' vacation for spring break, there is always some type of distraction that's going to affect our quarter. It doesn't matter which quarter it is, right? Fourth quarter. However, they managed to put Thanksgiving, Veterans Day, and Christmas and New Year's in
Hmm.
there is crazy. But we lose 2 weeks out of Q4 just because of holidays, and that's generally the biggest quarter for most of us. So it's a tough
Right.
quarter, but I always plan for a 10-week. But I do. I take the comp report, break it down into the quarters. I look at the daily or the weekly requirement, and then I know what my daily requirement is, right? So we're moving into like we just started Q2, and I know that I need to write $2,400 a day every
Yep.
day. In that comp report, in that quarterly, really it's my strategy for the quarter. I look at it and go, okay, well, I was low that week last year, and I'm going to be low that week again this year because we're gone for President's Club. So I don't
Hmm.
necessarily have to make up for that from last year, but I look and I know exactly which accounts I'm going to be enrolling which weeks throughout the quarter, which sounds kind of crazy, and I've got about 150 accounts in my book. So there's a lot of planning and a lot of strategizing that goes into it. But I unfortunately I missed my fourth quarter VIP last year, but I hit 19 in a row, and 19 out of 20 in 5 years, and then I've already hit Q in VIP this year. So hopefully,
Not bad. Not bad. I mean, we were like questioning. It's like, can we even have Kevin on here? He missed one VIP one
yeah,
time, and for one, not the year, but for the quarter. But no. So Kevin, um,
I only had
y-
to write 278,000 and change last year fourth quarter. That's all.
that's it. The
Yeah.
funny, not the funny thing, but before we hopped on, you were talking about all of the trips that you have coming up, and I remember the first couple times that I had that very first world problem, and I was like, man, like Aflac does not make it easy on you going back to back to back to back to back because like you are on 2-3 weeks of vacations per quarter a lot of the times,
Mhm.
and especially when you start getting invited to councils and things like that, people are hearing us and being like, oh wow, smallest violin, but whatever. But the fact that you actually take this and you take it to heart and you figure out, hey, this is what I'm going to have to do in this condensed period. You don't just throw up your hands and say, "Oh, I hope it will happen." You actually take ownership. So I
Mhm.
love that. I wanted to take a quick pivot because you've actually been with with our company a long time. So if from a planning perspective, if you were talking to yourself, just early in your career, what would be some of the things that you would say like, "Hey, you know what? Focus on this now." And it's going to be paying off in a big way later. What would be some of those things?
Well, big one is persistency, right? Aflac always, they've given us some incredible tools. They've actually been around for a long time. And
Yeah.
Michelle, you were talking about Morgan, and she says great things about me. She's way too kind. Morgan is incredible, and she literally brought persistency pays, the command center. She brought it to a Techno Tuesday for us and showed it to us, and it's because of Morgan bringing that to my attention, and I'm sure Michelle, you brought it to the agents there and in LA. But I would recommend that all of our market trainers and actually market directors, RSCs, DSCs, all promote it because I wasn't doing it, right? And so yeah, I'm right at 20 years, but I just started doing Aflac Always 2 years ago because when Morgan brought it to us on February 20th, 2 years ago, I mean, I know the date because my son's birthday was the next day.
Hmm.
Literally, I saw that and I looked at it and I'm going, after at that time 18 years of doing Aflac, I had 1.5% on Aflac Always. And like I said, being an engineer, I quickly did the math and it's like, there's almost
Yeah.
99% of my business that I'm not protecting. And it was a wake up call. So that next day, February 21st of 24, I started doing Aflac Always on every single account, every single person who would do it, develop my cadence. And I am now, as of this morning, I was at 28.3%. My direct acceptance rate went from 5 to now I'm at about 36.
Wow.
And the increase in my monthlies, I'm averaging about 5 grand more per month now than I was a couple years
That's
ago.
That's
that's the
amazing.
number. Yeah, I mean, when
Well, it's especially
when Michelle started talking to us, I was still in the field at that stage, and we were like, how do we actually, like, we should like take this seriously, and then our region actually started taking it seriously, and we went from 1% to I think we got to almost 10 or something like that, but
Mhm.
um the dramatic like I the owl in me was like, oh my gosh, the money I've left on the table the last 17 years is going to make me throw
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So like that's it makes me so sad. It's that very, again, first world problem, but very sad about the renewals I left out on the table for just being passive for no reason,
Mhm.
no reason at all. I mean, it was just I love that you remember the date. I mean, it's almost like a sobriety date where you're like, this is, we need to celebrate that and give you a birthday cake next February 21st. Awesome.
Every hero needs a sidekick. The site seller is yours, helping you ask the right questions, show the right numbers, and land. You actually moved us right into the next part, which was building that persistency for retirement. What steps did you do to actually implement that Aflac always into your enrollment? Is there like, let's say, a statement that you add to, when you enroll each employee, whether it's an existing policyholder or even new? Can you share what some of those statements are?
You bet. So my one of my go-tos for a large group presentation is the employee flyer, right? The Aflacs or whatever you want to call it. We've got a few different titles for it on Marketplace, but I use that document religiously, right? It's got the 6 bullet points. First one just says we're not major medical, we pay cash benefits directly. The second bullet talks about the fact that people can keep their Aflac coverage even if they leave. So I always try to put a bunch of, funny comments, right? I try to make sure people are staying awake. But on that one particularly, I really make a point of the fact that these policies, once you set these up, they are totally yours. So your company's done a great job by offering this to you as a payroll deduction set of coverages, benefits. But if you ever leave here, right? If you retire, if you quit, if you get quit, and then a couple people will laugh. I'm like, okay, we'll wait for the
That
rest
worked.
of you
That
to
was
catch.
good. If you get
Yeah,
quit, yeah, I
yeah,
like that.
we'll wait for the rest of you to catch up on that. And then they start laughing. I'm like, it doesn't matter why you leave.
You're
Your
giving us
policy,
gold right now. This is good.
yeah, your policies are portable. Same exact cost, same exact coverage. And here's the thing, I'm telling you that now because at the end of the process, when we go through and you've completed all your applications, I am going to ask you for some of your financials, your checking account, your savings account, your credit card, your debit card. I am going to ask you for that information. So please be aware of that ahead of time. Granted, Christmas is a long ways off. I don't need it right now, but my open enrollment's in fourth quarter. Be careful. Maybe I'll be at Nordstrom. So I make a joke of it, but I tell them up front, I'm going to ask for your credit card. I'm going to ask for your debit card. So be ready. Bring it to the enrollment, into the application process. And then once I do meet with somebody, we get done with all of it, I'll just bring it back to the original presentation and say, remember when we presented all of the information, a couple days ago, I talked about the fact that at the end of the application process, I'm going to ask for your account information. What do you want to use? Credit card, debit card, checking, or savings? Oh, okay. And they pull it out. So I told them ahead of time. I warned them. I joked around about it. I'm going to Nordstrom, maybe Dillard's, I don't know. But they remember it. And so when I ask for it, it's not a big deal, right? They're like, oh, sure. And here you go. Here's your card. Here's your checking account. And then I put that information in there. But I made it so it's really easy, and I like young people, right? Because they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't really bring my card with me." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but you got your iPhone 17 sitting right there. You got
Yep.
everything in there, right?" "Oh, yeah," and boom, I've got it. So I don't allow them to say no. I've gotten really good at handling all the objections. Occasionally, I mean, I won't necessarily always ask the business owner, right? "Hey, can I get your account information?" Because they've been running the business for a long time, and they're probably gonna continue to run the business. So for some people, I may not ask, but 99% of the time, I'm going to ask for their account information, and I already warned them ahead of time. And it's made a huge, huge impact in my persistency. It's made a huge impact in my potential retirement planning, right? I mean, I have another spreadsheet that I use. I update it every single month once I get my statements. And literally, it's just increasing and increasing and increasing. So I'm looking at it, and you know, I'm happy to say that 2 weeks ago I went on Medicare. Woohoo,
Wow.
65. So I figure another 5, 6 years with Aflac, but I mean, I'm looking at what my monthly will be in 5 or 6 years, and I'm going to be retiring if it continues the same trend it is right now. I'll be retiring with a CEO's salary,
Yeah.
and I'll be playing golf every day. I'll be playing
Yeah.
with my grandkids every day. I'll be traveling every day. I'm not going to be worrying about, oh gosh, my Social Security isn't enough to cover it. My Social Security is going to be like it's like going to be my new car fund.
Yeah. Those are your extra fun coupons. That's
Yeah, I'll be
yeah.
buying a new car every year, cash, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, I think you probably got a lot of us at, just from you implementing this, 5 grand more a month already.
2 years in a
That,
row. two
yeah,
years in a row, by the way.
I mean, come on, that's huge. It's yeah, so for somebody, this may be very obvious. What advice would you give somebody if they still on the sidelines on any of this stuff that we've talked about? I mean, besides, yeah, do it. What advice do you have? Because I know you
You know
speak veteran.
You know what? I would say, if you don't believe it, call me. Call me. I'll talk you through it. If you don't think it's real, I can give you the numbers. And I mean, most people can look online. They're like, oh man, the guy writes 600, 700,000 a year. He's making this much just in
Yeah,
regular production. But I can talk about what my renewals are, and then they can start to listen, right? I mean, it's huge. And even just looking at Pinnacle and looking at how much my book of business has increased and now is staying on the books, right? And all of that's just generating more to my monthly statement. So if we're not doing it, if people don't understand it, if they don't grasp the concept, they can call me. I'm happy to talk to them about it. But once they start doing it, and they see the impact, they'd be silly not to do it. I mean, I can't tell you, like you said, right? When I looked at it 2 years ago, I almost puked too. And I think about that, right? 18 years I didn't do that. How much business is gone, right? 99% of it, just about. And it's sad, but
yeah,
here's
it's tough.
here's the other part. We all talk about compensation. We love the trips. We love, the bonuses and all. If we all started doing this, Uncle Dan's gonna look at that pie, he's gonna go, "Oh my gosh, now we got a Costco pie." It used to be a tiny little Albertsons pie, but if we all started doing it, it's gonna have a big impact on all of Aflac, and if Aflac is generating more revenue and it's staying on the books, they're going to give that back at some point. So not even from a greedy standpoint, right? Because I'm going to be just fine based on my renewals increasing, but Aflac's going to start looking at it. I mean, they already have, right? I mean, I
Hmm.
talk to the people in persistency all the time, and just in the last couple of years, they've talked about the increase and how much more that's put to the bottom line. That's going to make it a whole lot better for all of us, every single one of us. So you take advantage of it by improving it personally, but it's going to have a big impact on the company. And what's the company going to do? It's just going to roll out better products, right? It's going to give bigger bonuses. It'll be better for everybody all across the board. I just can't see a downside for it.
No, that's so good, Kevin. And
Love it.
yeah, you don't even have a vested interest. Well, I mean, for the greater good of the company, you do have a vested interest, and yeah, we all do have Aflac stock, so I appreciate you
Mhm.
saying all of that too, which is good. But man, I just, Michelle and I could both say we probably just took a page of notes. But the biggest one is like, getting started, to a DSC and RSC too. I mean, this does. It's the exact same thing, and it's actually just it's a decision,
Right.
and truly just getting after this thing. It matters, and yeah, I don't know if we talk about the money enough. So that was my takeaway too. We'll probably be talking about that on our Monday meeting.
Struggling to connect with business owners? The Site Seller gives you the facts, talking points, and solutions you need right at your fingertips. Build trust, show value, and close deals with confidence. Site Seller, where conversations turn into partnerships.
Oh, are you ready for a rapid fire round? You ready to do this thing?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, kick us off.
So, rapid fire. These got to be quick ones, right, Kevin? So,
Okay.
the first one is dead or alive. Who would you have lunch with?
Quite frankly, Mother Teresa.
Oh,
Nice. I
okay.
was gonna put a thing in there and say because we've had a few others that have you, and they said that Jesus. Fair enough, but Mother Teresa's a good one. We haven't gotten that one yet.
Yeah, Mother the Teresa. Okay, what's the best piece of advice someone has given you that you used?
Ah, gosh, it probably goes back to my dad actually passed away at 49 from cancer, so I have a vested interest in trying to sell cancer policies. But my dad was just a great guy. He had all these great expressions all the time. And probably one of his best, and I still say it all the time too, you know what? We are all in this together, right? We talked about all in being together a couple of years ago with some of the Aflac things, but my dad used to always say, we are all in this together, right? We're on this, third rock from the sun. And I hate to watch the news these days, but nobody gets out alive. So let's try to make this the best ride we possibly can and take care of one another, right? Do the best we can to take care of each other.
I could not agree more. And yeah, that's boycotting the news makes it a lot easier to be nicer to people. That's for sure.
Mhm.
It makes it a lot easier. And
Yeah.
yeah, we have a lot more in common than we do different. So I think that a lot of us, yeah, hard to remember that at times too. Um,
Yeah.
For sure.
yeah. All right, Michelle, do you want to do another one, or are we going to close up shop?
I want to ask for one more.
Yep.
This one is the best concert or event you've been to.
Gosh, I don't go to a whole lot of concerts anymore, but I was a really big fan of rock and roll when I was a kid. I loved REO
Nice.
Speedwagon, still do.
Oh yeah.
But
That's an awesome one.
there's an organization called Global Leadership Summit, and they always do a 2-day event. It's coming up in August. Usually it's the first, I think it's a Thursday, Friday, first week of August. And they have some of the greatest leaders from the entire world. I mean, a lot of them from our nation, but they bring them in from all over the world. But to hear these people talk about their leadership examples, I mean, they've had Maxwell on there several times. I mean, you'd expect
Cool.
that, but it's mostly from a Christian perspective, and it's just nice to see servant leaders and talking about leadership throughout all of their different organizations. So I love going to the Global Leadership Summit every year. I've actually attended it live in Chicago before.
Awesome.
I don't know that I'm going to go again. They've had some issues in Chicago, but I'm from there originally, so I had
Yeah.
a good time there. But it's a really, really good organization, and if people are interested in it, I'd say just look it up. Look up Global Leadership Summit. It's coming up in August, that first week of August, and it's a good. It really is a good opportunity to put a couple of days into leadership training with some of the best, literally.
That's very cool. You know what? I just need to do one more then. What's the book that you've actually gifted the most?
The book that I've gifted the most, besides Bible, giving away a
Hmm.
lot of Bibles, the my wife suffers from a pretty damaging illness right now called electromagnetic radiation syndrome. So I'm trying to educate people. I've done a lot of advocacy work on educating people about electromagnetic radiation. Unfortunately, these things cause it.
Yeah.
And I was an engineer at Motorola when we rolled those out 43 years ago. So I know a little bit more about cell phones than the average Aflac agent, probably.
Yeah.
But they're bad, unfortunately. And there's a gentleman who wrote a book, Dr. Joseph Mercola, and it's a funny title. It's called EMF, so it's EMF asterisk D.
I see what he's
And
doing there. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it's a really, really. It's actually only a couple years old. I think it came out in 24, so it's a couple years old. So it's still really, really relevant. And if you're on your phone a lot and you kind of notice you have headaches, if you don't sleep well at night, if you've got tingling fingers, if you got achy joints, I mean, there's 100 different symptoms that you may have. And a lot of it could be because we are all just getting fried, I hate to say it, from electromagnetic radiation. And so I understand it pretty well, but I've given away a lot of those books and it blows people away.
Well, Kevin, honestly, I do appreciate this time with you, and a lot of this stuff is applicable for the that we discussed, just the timing of this year. So just thank you for running through this with us, because it this stuff does matter for our team,
You bet.
and we're just trying to get better, professionally and financially, and this across the board. So
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight and your perspective. And more than importantly, helping someone plan out their future, especially with the persistency side and building that today. It doesn't take long, guys. Add it to your process when you're presenting. So if you've been listening to the LA Legends, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join us next time. Until then, keep leading with purpose.